Getting started passive investing, we're going to be covering some of the key points when you're choosing a sponsor, some of the key things you need to know and how to go into it with the right mindset in today's episode. Let's get right to it. This is the Investor Mindset Podcast. The way that this all relates back to passive investing in today's topic is that where we're coming from and what we're looking to create and why we're driven to do the things we do can make a huge difference in how we're actually showing up and experiencing life. And so from a passive investing standpoint, why are we doing this? What is the purpose behind making these investments? Why are we working so hard in our careers? And what is the purpose behind that? And why are we doing these things? And so when we can further understand the drive and the direction, and then we can apply some of the strategies we're going to talk about today, those two really pair well together. We can get our mind in the right place and then apply some of the strategies, good things will happen. So let's dive right into Passive Investing Made Simple, phenomenal guide that you put together, pulling some great information on investing. And I know that there's some really key points that are going to help people be able to make better decisions on going out and investing. And I've talking to 10, 20, 30 investors a week. And a lot of the same conversations and points people really need to understand. There's not a lot of great resources. I'm glad you're able to put something together. Tell us a little bit about what are some of the key things that, up and coming passive investors need to know to be able to make the right decisions.
I think you alluded to something before that is like the very first step in the whole equation is really understanding yourself as the investor and what's your goal, like what's your outcome, what's your desired outcome, and why is investing in real estate or the stock market or anything, why is that the vehicle that will get you to your destination? So it's really starting with a little bit of introspection and understanding your tolerances, your parameters, understanding what it is that you're looking to achieve, and everybody's going to have a slightly different situation. And that's going to, their context is going to dictate what a good deal or a good operator to work with might look like. So if you're, later in life and you're in that capital preservation phase, like the operator you're going to look at is going to be focused on deals that focus on capital preservation. If you're younger and you want to get your capital, nutshell as big as possible, as quickly as possible, you want to get that snowball going, you're going to look at different types of deals and different type of operators. And so that's really step one, is understanding where you are in the cycle. And then from there, finding the right operators and deals that will help you get to that desired end state. And so for us, our whole approach is always educate. And, when you're new to passive investing, or even if you're really experienced, I don't think you can ever know too much, but there is a point where the knowledge needs to be applied. Otherwise, you're just going to be kind of spinning your wheels. I think a lot of people get into that phase. And in real estate, it's really easy to do that because it can feel so daunting and overwhelming and scary. And so our purpose in creating this book was really to help people go, okay, once I understand these things well enough, I'm ready to take action. I don't have to be in this analysis paralysis phase anymore. Now it's time to actually go and implement what I've learned.
Well, it's so important, right? Because, talking to investors, understanding why are we asking the questions about goals and why is it so important? Because if you're going to go down the path and you happen to be early in your investing, you're young, maybe you're making great money, you don't need to live off of that capital. Maybe your goal, the outcome that you're looking for is to grow your portfolio as quickly as possible. And so you might end up going with an equity growth focused or an appreciation focused strategy. However, maybe you're someone who needs to live off of this, or you're somebody who has a lower risk profile and you like to see those dividends coming in. Maybe you're going to go straight cash flow, or perhaps you're somebody who's going to be looking for both of those, kind of a blend of the mix, kind of a cash growth or a hybrid of the two. And without understanding what the purpose is of the investment and what it is that you need to accomplish as a result of investing, you really can't make a good decision. And what that ends up leading to is when great sponsors, after you go through the process we're going to talk about here today, after you go through and you've vetted a sponsor, it makes it almost impossible for you to decide if this is the investment that's going to be the right fit if you don't know what it is that you're actually looking for. So such a great point to start there.
Mhm. Yeah. And a good operator, like as you go into this process, as you're having these conversations, they should be leading with that question, because from their side, they shouldn't want to work with just any old investor. They want to work with the right investors who their deals are going to serve the best. And it's a great recipe for disaster if you're just taking any old investor into your deal without really understanding what's their motivation and their goals. Because without that, then I don't know if I actually have the right product for you. And any operator who's telling you, hey, this is the best deal for you, and without understanding that, well, they're just trying to sell you the deal, not trying to help you on your journey. And so that's really the big starting point is, what are you trying to accomplish? Why do you want it? Why do you want to invest in real estate in the first place?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time asking those questions, and it's really helpful because it allows us as sponsors to know, well, where are the bulk of our investors looking? And it's part of the reason why we offer multiple different strategies. We have cash flow, cash growth, hybrid type focus, which is probably about 70% of our focus is how can we create some cash flow today and have a nice equity or appreciation bump in the back end. But then we also focus heavily on that equity growth. How can we create the largest bump in portfolio at the lowest risk, and do so continuously, because we have a lot of people who are younger in their 40s and 50s and happen to have great cash flow. They're not really looking to live off of that money. So as a result of knowing that, it allows us to best fit that strategy of what people are actually looking for into what we're able to do. So talk to me a little bit about what is the best process or the process that you recommend for people to be able to vet a sponsor and make these kind of educated decisions.
Yeah, I think you're really trying to understand, like you pointed out there, you guys have multiple products that you could service somebody with. And the right operator is going to recognize, like, hey, this is a good product for you, or maybe we don't have the right product for you. And then they can help connect you with the group or the organization that would best serve you. And so really what you're looking for, and this is difficult, is you're looking for somebody who has integrity, you're looking for somebody who has intelligence, and you're looking for somebody who has the track record, like that has this proven ability. Because in recent years, syndication has become like this really sexy topic. It's a way for people to get into real estate with little or no money. They can be capital raisers, they can be deal finders, and that's all great. That's all fantastic. But also recognize that what you're doing when you're passively investing is you're not just giving somebody your money. Like if you look at the money as this exchange of value, to have received that, you exchanged a piece of your life, your time. It's an infinitely valuable resource because you're never getting it back. Like the time that went into earning that money is precious. And so the people that you're entrusting that with, you want to make sure that they have the highest integrity, that they're smart and that they know what they're doing. Like if they don't have those confluence of characteristics, well, you're giving your money to somebody who might not be able to do right by it. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about becoming a syndicator, I would really encourage you to think long and hard about the kind of the sacred responsibility that you're taking on when somebody gives you their money, and not just looking at it as like, they gave me $50,000, but thinking about like what they had to sacrifice in order to get that. And what you really need to be doing is thinking, can I do right by this? Do I actually have the ability, the resources, the network to deliver the returns that we're promising, or, forecasting, not promising necessarily, but saying, can I actually do right by this? And for me, the integrity is huge, but that's a really hard one to vet, right? Like you can't just ask somebody, hey, Steven, do you have integrity? You're going to be like, yeah, absolutely. One of the questions we used to ask, so I have a manufacturing business, and when we'd hire, we would always ask people like, what's integrity mean to you? And it's fascinating to hear all the different things that people would say. And all it did was reinforce for us that it means something differently to everybody. And so you got to figure out how to get to the core of what integrity means to you and see if that aligns with your operator. Do you see the world similarly? And then the track record, have they actually done this thing before? Like real estate, it's easy to get into. It's not the easiest thing to get out of, and it's hard to get out of it profitably. And so having seen that track record of we've done this before this many times, we've seen good times, we've seen bad times, that's huge. And then the very last thing, which I always say for last because it's a very personal, subjective one, is communication style. Making sure that who you're working with, they communicate on the same wavelength with you. Like Stephen, you could be the best operator in the world. I think you have the greatest integrity. You have a killer track record. But if for whatever reason we just don't communicate on the same wavelength, it's going to make for a weird relationship. And these type of investments are long-term things. They're easy to get into. It's like a marriage, but they're hard to get out of. And if you're not communicating on the same wavelength, if you don't feel valued and respected at every point in the journey, then go find somebody else that does make you feel that way, because you're worth it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Von Finch Capital. If you're interested in investing alongside me in the same type of real estate opportunities that I personally invest in, then head over to Von Finch Capital and join their private investor network. You can do so at vonfinch.com/invest. Join me on that next deal, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. Thank you for listening to the Investor Mindset Podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share with a friend. Head over to theinvestormindset.com to join the Insider Club, where we share tools and strategies from the top investors and entrepreneurs on how to take it to the next level.